guys, so today I'm going to teach you how to make the Rise of the Tomb Raider ice pickaxe. So yeah, let's get right to it. So the first thing you do is you research your cosplay, what you want to make. Well, if you do a Google search, you look up Tomb Raider gear guides, and then on there you could close up on the pickaxe or whatever weapon you're gonna do. Lara Croft, I'm gonna put her right here, she makes a good tutorial on the ice pickaxe, and she gives you a template, so that's cool. Another thing is look for templates if they're out there first before you print out your own. Well, you could do whatever. So what I did was I took her template and I made it bigger to make the 20. You put it on a piece of paper, trace it out, cut it out, and that'll be your reference when you trace it on the foam. So you gotta think layer wise how you're gonna pile up on this weapon, because really it's when you make weapons you pile up layers of foam and then you take the sander or the Dremel, which is what I use, and you curve it out. You sand out the different edges to try to make it all one, look seamless. So think about how the layers go with that. So the next step is cutting the foam, and I use the EVA foam, whatever you want to call it. And I'll link that in the description of where you could buy it. So I use this foam, and now I take my layer that I cut out, whichever layer is, because you're going to have 4 for this. Trace it on the foam, and then I cut it out with this, this one says Cobalt. So I'll link the knife that I use because an X-Acto knife is too crazy for me. I don't want to accidentally cut my finger off, so I use this knife instead, this blade. So the next step is gluing all 4 pieces together, and I use Barge glue, and I'll link that in the description. When you're using the Barge glue, it has has that toxic type of thing, so I use as a gas mask. Protects me, So remember, use this combo. So after you glue all 4 pieces together, what you want to do is sand the edges out, because when you cut it out, they're not always going to be all exact on the edges. So you're going to want to make it seamless, or at least look seamless. So what I use is the sand block, and well, sometimes I use the sand block for like smaller pieces. And you can get it at your hardware store, and what you want to do is you got to angle it. So you got your piece of foam, there we go, and you do it at like a diagonal. And you keep doing that and you'll have the round edge. Cool. Another thing you could do is you could use a Dremel. The Dremel has different ends. This one's a rounded edge. I kind of use a cone one. And you do the same thing and you go at a diagonal to round that edge out. You gotta really learn how to carve the foam with the Dremel. It's all a learning experience. I still haven't mastered it myself, so give it a try. So before putting the plasti dip, I put all my details on the axe first because I didn't know how gluing pieces of foam after the plasti dip and it's painted is gonna be. I didn't think it was gonna stick on that great. So I put the details first, like the little screws on the pickaxe, and I think that's one of the only details. You could actually put an edge to the blade if you want to make it pop out more, give it some depth. And what I use is thinner kind of foam, and you can buy that at your craft store. They have big sheets of thin foam. After you do that, you put the details on. What you're gonna do is take Kwik seal, and it's plumber's glue, and you get that at a hardware store. And any kind of open seal between the layers that you glued or the details, you could put the Kwik seal. What that's gonna do is it's gonna make it seem seamless, like it's all one piece. You're not going to really have that much of a gap in between pieces. What you want to make sure is that it's thin. So what I usually do is I put some on the thin foam that I don't need anymore, and I wipe it down and I make sure it's a thin layer. Before you paint, what you gotta do is put a foam sealer layer on the foam first, because if you do paint without it, the paint's gonna seep right into the foam and you're not really gonna get the color you want. So what I use is Plasti Dip, and you can get it at your automotive store or Home Depot. I'll just link it in the description below. So this is really like a spray, and what you could get is a little handle, and you can spray it with the handle like spray paint. And what you gotta use, of course, is your gas mask. And I recommend, since it's gonna get all over your hands when you're trying to position the thing the right way, is gardening gloves, because then the paint's gonna stick to this, not your hands, and you're not gonna have to rub it off with WD-40 for 5 million hours. Definitely don't want to do that. But for the pickaxe, what you could do is you could hang it in the little hole at the bottom where the grip handle is. You gotta make sure you spray in thin layers so that it doesn't drip, because the drips will stay on your weapon. So now you're up to painting, which is the funnest part of your cosplay, because you get to put all different kind of effects with the paint. So there's different ways to paint, and I've done spray paint in the past. You can check it out in my Making Cosplay armor. But I realized that for any kind of cosplay where you're actually moving a piece, spray painting might not be the best idea because it cracks. So for weapons, I think it's fine. For the pickaxe, I used acrylic paints because, of course, it doesn't really crack as easily. And I could put more detail with acrylic paints. I have more color options. So the paint that I used for the metal is Deco Art Dazzling Metallics. It says Shimmering Silver. I think this is kind of like the best one. You could use this other kind of metallic paint. I think it's like rust something. I'm gonna put that in the description because I've used that in the past for armor, like shiny armor. So yeah, this is the paint I used for the metal. And the paint that I used for the handle and the red part of the pickaxe was Americana paint, acrylic paint. And you could get that at your craft store. It's also used for regular paintings and stuff, so there's plenty of different colors you could choose from. And what I did to apply the metal was I used this sponge brush. And what you want to do is take some paint, but dab it on the side a little. You want to put the metal coloring on in thin layers with the foam. For the regular other stuff and different kind of details, you want to use a regular brush. After putting 3 layers of paint, it's time to put wear and tear and all the different details you want to put. And that includes, you know, the wear on the metal, wear on the screws, and even like wear on the actual body of the weapon. I didn't really do it for the grip because in the reference picture it's not really worn, and you could put ribbon around it anyway. So yeah, now how to do wear and tear. After, you know, the silver, you gotta take black, and you take a little bit of black. Don't overdo it. And you dab whatever spot you think. And usually what you want to dab is the inner crevices, because it's of course going to be darker, because all that dirt's going to get there and you're not going to be able to clean it. It makes sense that it would be darker. So you dab the black in that crevice, and right away you want to take a paper towel, any kind of absorbent material, and you want to wipe it away. And it's not going to wipe away all the way, and then you'll have your wear. And you can keep doing that. You gotta figure out how much you want to wipe away, how much you don't, depending on how much wear you need. And I did the same for different areas on the red body of the pickaxe, especially in the indents here. And the indent, it's usually a bigger indent, but for my thin cutout, I made thin crevices or indents, whatever you want to call it. And I just took a piece of metal that was rounded and thin, and I just kept going up and down till that crevice was a little bit indented. And then I put the black paint, like very, very thin black paint, because you don't want to overdo it. It's gonna not look real. And for the rest of the body, I did the same. I put the metallic color, and then I put the black and dabbed it with black. So after you paint, you're gonna have to seal the paint so that, you know, the paint doesn't come off. And what I use is Pledge Floor Care Finish. And it's gonna kind of give the paint a shiny feel to it, but it gets the job done in sealing the paint. You could use other stuff. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but you're gonna have to look it up if you don't want the nice sparkliness of it. And that depends on your preference, if you're gonna take close-up pictures or far-away pictures and you want the thing to gleam or not. But take thin layers of this, take your paintbrush, and go over it. You only need to go over it once. So your weapon is finally done. And if you're doing the pickaxe, your pickaxe is done for your Lara Croft or Tomb Raider cosplay. And yeah, you're ready to go for Comic-Con or any kind of con you're gonna go to. If you have any questions, need any advice, hit us up in the comments below or message us. Stay tuned for more cosplay tutorials, which I'll get on soon.